green revolution, its need, on what steps have been taken, and then its impact, and then the recent, let's say, measures for sustainable agricultural practices. Okay, green revolution, it's altogether new topic now. We are focusing on eco-friendly farming practices, but before that we should go back and try to understand where the problem started, right? So if you see in 1960s, there were consecutive drought years and famine-like condition was prevalent in India, especially at the start of this decade, 1960s. And there were two wars, 1962 Indo-China War and 1965 India-Pakistan War. So that created a situation of, let's say, inadequate food grain, food insecurity. Okay, so there was crop failure, okay, low yield due to these, let's say, drought conditions, low rainfall, and that, let's say, resulted into import of food grains, import of wheat from US that time. So this was, let's say, prevalent condition, and this condition forced us to take certain measures. The government took certain measures. So this was, we can say that, need of green revolution because of this condition. Food security. Food security is basically having three components: food availability, food affordability, and food accessibility. Although they are linked to each other, together we call it as food security. Then there is nutritional security as a subcomponent of food security. So steps were taken by government in this green revolution. Okay, it was called as package technology. It was called as package technology. What steps were taken? First, introduction of high yielding varieties of crops, especially wheat, rice, maize. High yielding varieties of wheat, rice and maize. Okay, then thereafter, second, expansion of irrigation facilities, because high yielding varieties required more amount of water. High yielding varieties required more amount of water. Then increased production of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. increased amount of production of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. The government introduced and given at subsidized rate. Fertilizer subsidy, right. Then right. So these provisions increased the amount of food grains in the country, but that wasn't only the sufficient aspect. We needed some kind of storage and transportation infrastructure to ensure that food security to all parts of the country, because that production is happening in certain parts of the country only. Especially it was successful in Punjab, Haryana and Western UP and some part of Tamil Nadu. So how we can, let's say, procure and transport that? We needed some institutional mechanism at that time. So we at that time set up Food Corporation of India through Food Corporation of India Act 1965. Now this body is responsible for procurement, storage and transportation of food grains within the country. So it builds large warehouses wherein it can store the food grains, it can procure from the mandis, right. Then thereafter government introduced MSP, minimum support price, for various crops during Kharif and Rabi season. Now through this the farmers are incentivized to produce certain crops, because in return they are going to get a fixed amount of price, minimum, let's say, fixed amount of price in the market as the government is buying that. So especially for wheat and rice it got very famous in Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Thereafter government introduced PDS, public distribution system. Okay, so public distribution system through ration shops, food grains were distributed at subsidized rate. For poor people. For poor people, ration shops, fair price shop we call it. So this network is created throughout India, and this is how we ensured food security. It's not only about the production, it's about procurement, it's about storage, then transportation, reaching up to poor people at. So it ensures availability, it ensures affordability, it ensures accessibility. This is how we ensured food security. The students do not understand how we link these three here. They know all these steps, but how it is ensuring food security? By ensuring availability through food production, first three steps, then ensuring affordability through PDS, MSP, and then accessibility through PDS, and we can say that affordability through let's say subsidized rate, food grains at subsidized rate, and we can say that it also ensured what you can say MSP. So that means MSP is basically the food grains are being procured by from the farmers at minimum fixed price, right. So these are the provisions. Now this green revolution resulted into some problems. impact. So of course there is positive impact, right? Positive impact is ensured surplus food grains production, ensured food security. It also led to, we can say that, export of food grains, earning some income, export of food grains. That it ensured welfare of farmers through MSP. Farmers were able to increase their income through MSP, subsidies, fertilizer and power subsidies. Right. So these are the positives. Then negative impact. Negative impact we should understand at.
Focused on few crops.
Yes. We will first.
Diversification of crops.
We will structurize it properly. At crop level, only focus on wheat and rice, while other crops are ignored. Right. So we can say pulses, oil seeds, they are ignored. Pulses, oil seeds, ignored. So it created wheat rice system, cropping pattern. Right. It led to monoculture. We can say it led to monoculture. And it led to, we can say that, destruction of biodiversity of region. Decline in biodiversity, monoculture, problematic. Then at crop level we said that it is also water thirsty, or it requires more amount of water. High irrigation led to what? Problems of waterlogging. Problem of waterlogging. And salinization of soils. Salinization and alkalization of soils, especially in Punjab and Haryana. Over irrigation. So soils are becoming now infertile. Decline in fertility of soils. Then over irrigation was through excess extraction of groundwater. Excess extraction of groundwater. So it led to groundwater depletion. Groundwater table depletion. This is also creating problem. It is also leading to groundwater pollution. Right, harmful elements are leached into the groundwater. Groundwater depletion, groundwater pollution. At crop level. Second we can talk about is at farmer level. So at farmer level only large farmer, large, let's say, farmers or farmers with large land holdings benefited. Small and marginal farmers did not benefit. Why? Because these were having, we can say that they were having capital, they were having, we can say that, land, and they were having, we can say that, let's say, modern outlook. Why? Because they were readily accepting these new technologies. That requires modern outlook, ready to change. While the small farmers did not benefit, they lagged behind in taking advantage of this green revolution, and that continued. It created a kind of divide. Divide among the farmers. Big farmers became richer, and further they reinvested that money again in the agriculture for mechanization. Again efficiency increased, again high production, again income. So this is how the cycle. Then third, at region level. So it was successful only in certain regions. Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, and we can say that Kaveri Basin in Tamil Nadu, Kaveri Delta or Kaveri Basin in Tamil Nadu, where water was available at region level. So successful only in this, and bypassed eastern region, which was having fertile soil as well as water availability. Okay, now the reason for bypassing this region was, first of all, small and marginal farmers. So they were not having enough capital, or they were not having this modern outlook also. Small and marginal land farmers, small land patches, land fragmentation, no let's say sufficient land reforms in these states, and the support from the states in terms of procuring those food grains, and we can say the infrastructure like storage and that activities. So states like Bihar or West Bengal, Odisha, they were supposed to benefit, but they did not. They were having all the, let's say, water resources and all. Then there were also, let's say, problem of floods, natural hazards in these states. Bihar, West Bengal is always flood prone area, right? So all these factors contributed. Understood? So these are some negative impacts, and you can either write this impact on biodiversity here itself, or you can write here at biodiversity level and then mention how monoculture led to decline in biodiversity, or here I will mention that this is related to biodiversity. These two, okay, these 2 points, 3 points. So this is how you should structurize answer, not writing all these 7-8 points all together. Right? So it create divide at crop level, it created divide at farmers level, it created divide at region level also. Green revolution. Right? So now the government is focusing on, let's say, bringing green revolution to the eastern regions. It is called as second green revolution. Now the government is focusing, and yes, now that revolution will be more sustainable, because it has been found the negative impact of excess use of chemical fertilizers, right? So you can talk about here excess use of chemical fertilizers, led to eutrophication of water bodies. It is happening all over the country of water bodies. So here itself at crop level you can mention this. Excess use of chemical fertilizers. Right. Then over irrigation led to wastage of water. Now we are facing problem. Wastage of water. Agriculture is about having 80% of use of fresh water, and over irrigation is leading to wastage of fresh water. Right. Then something it is now, let's say, called as export of hidden water. What is this? Hidden water or invisible water? Hidden water or invisible water? What is invisible water trade or invisible trade? What is that concept? Punjab is very well known for basmati rice, and rice is water intensive crop. So excess water is being used for production of that rice, and that is largely exported. Basmati rice in country, it is exported. So whatever the water that is being used for production of that rice, we are basically using that water for production and then exporting that product. That means we are exporting that water itself. So it is called as invisible water trade. Emerging, we can say, issue or emerging, let's say, concern, how water is being exported in this manner.